It's 3 a.m. You roll over, stare at the ceiling, and start doing mental math. The rent is due next week, the car needs new tires, and that credit card bill is sitting in your inbox. One emergency, a job hiccup, a medical bill, even a laptop breaking could wipe out your whole month. And then, as if on cue, you open your phone, scroll through Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Doesn't matter. There's someone your age smiling in front of their new house. Another is posting beach photos from Bali. Someone else is bragging about maxing out their retirement accounts. Meanwhile, you're wondering if you'll even make it to next Friday without dipping into overdraft. The thought creeps in, am I falling behind? Am I the only one who hasn't figured this out yet? Here's the truth. At every age, someone is ahead and someone is behind. And the benchmarks you see online, 1 year of salary saved by 30, 3 years by 40, 10 years by retirement, can feel impossible. But today, I'm going to break down what people are really saving. Decade by decade, why those numbers matter less than you think, and the exact actions that move you forward no matter where you're starting. My name is Ivan, and I help people understand the psychology and mechanics behind building real wealth. If you're tired of wondering why your bank account never seems to grow despite making decent money, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button if this video helps you figure out where you have been going wrong. Here's why this topic matters. Think about fitness. If you wanted to get look stronger, you'd want to know the average push-ups or bench press for people your age. Not to compare, but to set a reference point. Or think about school. Knowing the class average tells you whether you're crushing it or if you need to study harder. Money works the same way. Most of us have no idea what normal looks like, so we either assume everyone else is doing better or we bury our heads and hope it sorts itself out. But when you see the real numbers, what your peers are actually saving, it does two things. It gives you perspective and it gives you power. Perspective because you realize you're not alone. Power because once you know the score, you can make smarter moves without guessing. And that's exactly what we're going to do. In your 20s, the experts say you should have 1 year of your salary saved by age 30. Sounds nice on paper. For someone earning $50,000, that's $50,000. But reality check. The average 20-something with a retirement account has under $15,000, and many don't even have an account at all. Between student loans, entry-level salaries, and rent swallowing half your paycheck, it's no wonder most people feel stuck in survival mode. Here's the catch. This decade matters most for compounding. Every dollar saved in your 20s can be worth 2 or 3 times as much as a dollar saved in your 40s. Delay, and you'll have to save double or triple later just to catch up. So what's the move? Automate. Even $100 a month, auto-transferred before you see it, plant the seed. The habit matters more than the number because it shifts your identity from someone hoping to save to someone who actually saves. By your 30s, the rules get tougher. The benchmark says you should have 3 times your annual salary saved by 40. For someone making $70,000, that's about $210,000. But let's be real, most people in their 30s aren't hitting that. The average retirement balance is closer to $100,000, $200,000, and that's only if you have an account. Why? Because this decade is when life piles on. You might be buying a house, paying for daycare that costs more than rent, or still digging out of student loans. Every dollar feels like it has 5 jobs. The danger here is decision fatigue. You're making more than in your 20s, but it never feels like enough because expenses scale right along with your income. That gap between recommendations and reality can trigger panic, or worse, avoidance. The action for your 30s is simple but powerful. Automate contributions and protect yourself from lifestyle inflation. If your salary goes up 5%, don't let your spending go up 5%. Redirect part of every raise or bonus straight into savings. That one move creates momentum when life feels overwhelming. By your 40s, the stakes get real. The benchmark says you should have 6 times your salary saved by age 50. For someone earning $110,000, that's about $660,000. The reality, the average 40-something with a retirement account has closer to $400,000, and many have much less. Why? Because this is the decade of financial juggling. Mortgages, kids' school costs, aging parents, maybe even college tuition coming up. Your income is higher than it's ever been, but so are your responsibilities. This is when people hit what I call the holy crap moment. Retirement stops being a faraway concept and starts looking like a countdown clock. Panic sets in, and that's when mistakes happen. Chasing risky investments or giving up because the target feels too big. The action for your 40s. Treat every raise, bonus, or side income as an opportunity to close the gap. Redirect part of it into savings before your lifestyle expands to swallow it. In this decade, consistency matters more than perfection. It's about turning every extra dollar into future freedom. By your 50s, the benchmark gets aggressive. The rule of thumb says you should have about 8 times your annual salary saved by age 60. If you're making $120,000, that means you should be staring at nearly $1 million in your account. That's the target. Now, here's the reality. The average American in their 50s with the retirement savings has closer to $600,000. That sounds like a lot, but it's still short of the benchmark, right? And it doesn't stretch as far as you might think. Why? Because this is the decade when life throws some of its biggest financial curveballs. Kids may be heading off to college, and tuition today can rival a small mortgage. Healthcare costs start creeping in, from higher insurance premiums to surprise medical bills. Some people are still carrying debt from earlier decades, whether it's a mortgage, a car loan, or even lingering credit card balances. And suddenly, retirement isn't a vague idea, it's maybe 10 years away. You can see the finish line, but the gap between where you are and where you're supposed to be can feel terrifying. This is when people split into two groups. Group 1 panics. They realize they're behind, and in desperation, they start looking for shortcuts, risky investments, sketchy schemes, or betting big on the stock market. That's how fortunes disappear. Group 2 stays steady. They don't let the pressure push them into bad decisions. Instead, they double down on consistency. Here's the good news. Your 50s are also your peak earning years. For many people, this is when promotions happen, careers mature, and incomes hit their highest levels. And here's where the tax code quietly hands you a gift: catch-up contributions. Once you hit 50, you can put thousands more each year into retirement accounts over and above the normal limits. The consequence of not acting? You risk entering your 60s underfunded and forced to work longer than you want. But the upside of taking action now is huge. Redirecting even a few $1,000s more per year into your accounts during your 50s can snowball into an extra 6 figures by the time you retire. So here's the action for this decade. Treat catch-up contributions as non-negotiable. If you're in your peak earning years, resist the urge to inflate your lifestyle. Instead, funnel that extra income straight into retirement savings. Think of it as locking in the final lap of your financial marathon. At this stage, the margin for error is smaller, but the tools to close the gap are right in front of you. By your 60s, the benchmark is clear: 10 times your annual salary by age 67. For someone earning $100,000, that's $1 million or more. The reality? The median savings for people in their 60s is about $573,000. That's not nothing. It's a serious amount of money, but it can fall short if you're expecting to fund 25 to 30 years of retirement without a paycheck. And this is where the stakes get high, because the timeline is no longer abstract. Retirement is here. This decade forces tough choices. Do you take Social Security at 62 or wait for larger checks later? Do you downsize your home to free up cash or hold on to it for stability? Do you keep working part-time because you want to or because you have to? These questions aren't just financial, they're emotional. The consequence of ignoring the math is simple. You risk running out of money while you're still alive. But here's the opportunity. With a clear plan, even $500,000 can stretch further than you think. Lock in your housing, know your essential expenses, and decide ahead of time how you'll bridge the gap with Social Security or part-time work. The one action for your 60s: get clarity. Write down your real monthly expenses, compare them to your retirement income, and run the numbers. Guessing is dangerous, but clarity can give you peace of mind and help you make smarter choices in your final working years. Now, some of you are probably thinking, Ivan, this all sounds good, but I can't afford to save right now. Inflation's eating my paycheck. The market could crash tomorrow. What's the point? And I get it. Those fears are real. But here's the truth. The math doesn't change just because life feels chaotic. Inflation does eat into cash, which is exactly why investing matters. Over the long run, broad index funds historically beat inflation and protect your buying power. Markets do crash, but if you invest steadily through dollar cost averaging, you buy at the highs and the lows, which means volatility works in your favor. And as for affordability, almost no one feels like they have extra money lying around. That's why saving has to come first, not last. Treat it like rent, a bill you pay yourself. Even $50 or $100 automated every month proves you're in the game. Once you've built the habit, scaling it up gets easier. Here's where the difference between average and disciplined gets obvious. The average American saves about 6% of income. The disciplined saver pushes 20% and retires a decade earlier. The average household lets housing and transport eat up more than half of take-home pay. The discipline cap it at 50% combined, creating breathing room for savings. The average person carries credit card balances month to month. The discipline pay cards in full, build a 3 to 6 month runway, and invest consistently. The bottom line, wealth isn't built on luck, it's built on choices. Boring, repeatable, disciplined choices stacked year after year. Here's the part no one tells you. The real win isn't hitting a perfect benchmark. It's becoming the kind of person who keeps money. Because money kept isn't just numbers on a statement, it's freedom. It's the power to walk away from a toxic job, to sleep at night without doing mental math, to spend time with people you love instead of worrying about the next bill. And here's the truth. It doesn't matter if you're 25, 35, or 55. The switch flips the moment you decide to act. Not someday. Not when you feel ready. Now. You don't have to overhaul your whole life overnight. Start small. One auto transfer this week. $50, $100, whatever you can. That single step proves to yourself that you're no longer behind. You're moving forward. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about keeping up with benchmarks or your neighbors or what you see on social media. It's about building the kind of identity that compounds. Steady, disciplined, in control. That's who wins with money, and if this breakdown helped you see your own path a little clearer, then please share it with someone who needs the wake-up call as well. The sooner we stop guessing and start acting, the sooner we buy back the most valuable thing money can ever give us, time.